Hey, what is going on everyone? It's me, Mr. Mario, and I had a video planned for today. I had this specific video planned and I was going to have it uploaded. It is uploaded, it's ready to go, tagged, all that stuff. But then I ended up reading about this today, and this is something that's a bit important, and also I kind of want to talk about it, maybe rant about it a little bit. And for anybody who's interested in console repair, modifications, whatever it is, you might want to listen because this does concern you. So if you want more detail and a really good article on it, it's going to be down below in the description from Vice. But this is about the right to repair bill, and specifically what companies are doing to push back on it. More specifically, what is more related to this channel is Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft. In short, they do not want us to repair our own systems. Now, you might be asking, what is this right to repair bill? It's essentially a bill that is going through in several states in the United States, and it's being pushed forth right now, and it is requiring companies to put out documentation that is covering how to fix up systems and such, how to do repairs on them, how these systems work, and also even provide the ability to sell us hardware and tools and such that authorized people have. So, you might have an authorized repair center. It's trying to get people, just like either people who do unauthorized repair, and unauthorized is a really bad word. It's just a repair shop down the street, something like that, that probably does good work, but they just don't go through all the effort to get 100% certified and all that fun stuff. So people like that would have access to all of those components, whether they be, software or book related or even hardware related. So it's not just limited to, a bit of a monopoly. Because honestly, at this point, if you think about it, how do you fix, officially, not opening up your system, how do you fix a PlayStation 4? How do you fix an Xbox One? How do you fix a Wii U? You send them back to the company that made them, which would be Nintendo. Nintendo, for example, I know on the East Coast of the US and the West Coast, they have repair centers. Those are the two authorized repair centers in the United States. Now, what this bill would allow, as I understand it right now, if anybody knows any more details or if I have anything wrong, please correct me. It would allow third-party businesses, that's a better word, third-party businesses and, people who are wanting to fix their systems to have access to the documentation, and again, even have access to maybe even some hardware and software to fix these things themselves. Because it's kind of standard at this point for video game consoles to have warranty stickers on them and prevent you from opening them up or anything, but it hasn't been like that for a while, prior to that, that was not a thing. In fact, another thing that is funny, and this has been shown, years ago, is that these warranty stickers, not only they are anti-consumer, but at the same time, they are also illegal as well, too. I'll have, a link to that detailing it, because I could go into more detail on that, but I'd highly recommend reading that. The point is, this is being pushed through right now. It's somewhat successful, I would say, and it's, gaining more traction. And this has also been specifically for, smartphone repair and such. But now it's getting to the point where specifically in Nebraska, companies are trying to band together and they are attempting to stop this from happening. Why Nebraska? Because the right to repair bill is the furthest in Nebraska right now. So they are trying to stop it in that state before it becomes, the first states to get it initiated. And some of the things they are saying that, this could violate privacy, it is unsafe, and a few other reasons. And they haven't really come out and said why specifically as opposed to those reasons. And they won't reply to interviews either, so it's a bit frustrating seeing that. Now, I want to take two sides on this video, right? The first part of this video, I'm going to be talking as a consumer, as somebody who likes to tinker around and play with my game systems and all that, why I believe this is unfair, but I'm also going to talk as a company. Now, I don't work for any of these companies, but I understand why they are doing this, and I'm going to talk about that at the later point in the video. But first off, you all are probably here as consumers, you want to know about that, and you probably want to hear someone rant. I don't know if I will, but let's go ahead and get into it. First off, I do agree that we definitely should have the right to repair these systems. In fact, what happens with a lot of these systems is, for example, if you send it off to, like the Xbox, for example, if your Xbox goes faulty, you send it off to Microsoft, you're probably just going to get another system back. They probably aren't going to bother repairing your console when your console is perfectly able to be repaired. And it's been shown multiple times. It's been documented. It's been extremely well documented to the point where, like Xbox experts, for example, although some of the things can be kind of questionable, that's a full site that details, it's third party, and it details Xbox error codes as best as it can, and it's actually quite impressive if you ever check it out. But the point is on there, if it's like a disk drive failure or something, I'm sure Microsoft's going to fix that. They'll just drop in a new drive. But if it's something more advanced, it's easier for them to just give you a new system. And what's that old system going to do? What are they going to do with that old system? Well, they probably will just trash it. It will become e-waste at that point. And there is just so much e-waste in the world, and there's so many devices, not only game consoles, but computers, motherboards, smartphones, all these devices that can be repaired, and there are people that can do these component level repairs on them. There's been several people who have documented this quite well. I don't remember this gal's name, but I will remember to put her down below in the description. She actually did a really good video where she was, talking about microsoldering and such. I think Louis Rossman, he's also another YouTuber where he documents this. He has a whole business on, Apple repair. I mean, iPhones are included in there too. But point is, he does these little tiny, micro soldering repairs, and he's able to do them quite successfully, and he's shown several times. This would be a repair, for example, like I'm just saying like a laptop he's done. He takes out a motherboard and he says, what Apple would do is if you send this back to them, they're not going to recover your data. They're going to throw this motherboard away because it's junk to them, slap in a new one, and send you your laptop back. He actually goes in there after a few minutes, finds out what the issue is. It might be a capacitor. He floods it off. He puts a new one on. It works. The data is there. He got it done faster, cheaper, and he didn't have to waste a motherboard. That's the impressive thing, and a lot of these companies just don't do that. On top of that, when it comes to repairing game consoles and such, I'm one of those people, if it falls within the warranty period, I tell people just send it back. Like, for example, let's say you have an Xbox One, it stops reading discs. Some people might say, hey, can you repair this? I ask, how old the system is. If they said they've had it for 8 or 9 months, pack it up, send it back to Microsoft. Don't try and open that up. However, the issue comes into play when it is out of warranty. When it's out of warranty and it's still being serviced, you can still get that service in, but a lot of times these services cost quite a bit. They cost $100, $150, even $200, depending on what it is, what it might be. And then on top of that, you might not get the best results on them. I know there's been several people who've had issues with these warranty returns and exchanges and such. I personally haven't, but I know there was another video I'd seen recently, and this is another video I'm going to link down below in the description. It was a woman who had ended up getting a brand new 3DS, and it had some dead pixels on it, and I think, no, it wasn't dead pixels, it was dust under the screen, which she was saying, she was trying not to attack Nintendo, and she said that this could have just been, a one-off issue, but this is actually a issue that is documented on Nintendo's support site. The system was new enough where it was able to be sent in for a repair. There's an error code and everything, but when it got sent in, she ended up having to contact them because they asked to speak with her, not the technician, but just Nintendo support. They weren't even aware that there was a specific code for this, and then I guess they saw that it wasn't an issue. Despite there being dust underneath the screen right there, they didn't see it as enough of an issue to actually go through with that repair. So there's times like that where it's just completely disappointing and you have that breakdown. So when it comes to sometimes customer service and experience, a lot of the times it's good, but sometimes you're going to have those issues. But cost is another thing as well too. I myself, for example, if I have, let's say again, an Xbox that has a broken disk drive, and it is out of the, grace period warranty, but it still has not been opened, so I could send it off to Microsoft. If I could myself open up the system and drop in a new drive for $50 or $60 as opposed to the $100 or $150 it would be to send it to Microsoft, and I'm confident enough to do that, I don't see an issue with that. Now, not everybody is capable of doing this. Some people might be afraid, some people just might not possess the technical skill on there or the knowledge, and that's where you can definitely learn, and then it gets a little bit murky there as well too. But point is, these should be things that you should be able to do. However, when it comes to the warranties, I also understand that really the reason why these companies lock you out is due to the fact that they don't want people opening up and modifying their systems. You see, I remember when I worked at a game shop a while ago, we did not take systems that had been opened up already. And when I asked my manager why, he said, nobody opens up a game system, just look on the inside. If it has been opened, that means that there was an issue with that. And if there was an existing issue with that system and it had some type of home remedy or repair on it, we don't trust that. Now, of course, I would say most of the time that is true, but there was also a good amount of the time where we did know of people, not only this happened to us a few times with systems, but we knew of people that, for example, if they had a busted Xbox 360, they'd wrap that thing in a towel, overheat it, made sure it worked long enough for a game store to test it out, and they would sell off the system. I'm not advocating that at all. I'm just telling you that happened multiple times, and those were systems right there that had the warranty seals intact. So what can you do? Now, personally, I don't see an issue with selling those repair services. I don't see an issue with you yourself going in and opening up that system. Now, when it comes to, if you're modifying a system, you all know I enjoy modding systems. And when I said that earlier, that nobody opens up their systems just to look at, I want to clarify that. That was my manager saying that, and also, that's not really true for me. I've actually opened up systems before just because I was bored, just for fun, because I'm weird like that. I enjoy that. But the point is, this is stuff I do enjoy, and there's plenty of times where, you could get a hold of a system. And one good example as well, too, is I have a video of this where I had a couple of Sega Genesis systems. These were trashed. They were going to get ready to go to the trash. This game shop owner that I was at, he was closing down his shop, and I asked him about them. He said, oh, those don't work. You can have them if you want. You know what the issue was on those? One of them had a more advanced issue. One of them needed the power supply on the board reflowed. So I just took out my soldering iron, spent a few minutes heating up the points, putting on fresh solder, and it worked perfectly. Another system was it wouldn't stay powered on if you just pressed the power button. You had to hold down the power button. I spent a minute cleaning up the power button and it worked fine after that. Those are two systems that would have just been thrown away, and granted, Sega is no longer in the console business, but let's say it was a newer console, such as the PlayStation 3 or the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One doing that. Those are systems that could have been thrown away that were then salvaged with repairs that only took a few minutes tops. Now I am on board for repairing systems, all that stuff, but now talking about the company perspective, why a company would want to do this. Now, I'm just saying right here, I don't support them in this, but I understand their point. First off, I'm just going to have the obvious thing right here be money. That's it. Every time somebody repairs a game console at home, or they send it to a third-party repair place, or they pay a friend to do it, that's money that is gone from Sony's or Microsoft or Nintendo's pocket. If a Xbox gets a general hardware failure, and Microsoft, let's say they charge $100 or $150 to repair that system, but some guy down the street who has a shop charges $60 for it, I'm going to go to the guy who is closer, who can get it done faster, and who can get it done cheaper if they are a good repairman. And that way, they get $60, but Microsoft doesn't get any of that money for that repair. Repairs are a big deal for them in the case that, anything that is after that initial grace period warranty, as long as the system hasn't been opened, they can still end up making that money from the repair. And I understand that completely. As a business, you want to get that money. So these guys, none of these companies are happy that all these little third-party shops are cropping up and are stealing their repair business away. The other issue that you get into with all of this is that a lot of these repairs, you can't really trust them. And by that I mean, the best example here is the Xbox 360. The Xbox 360 had the infamous red ring of death, red light issue, the red lights of death, the general hardware failure. That was 3 red lights on the console and it would not boot up properly. Or you got an E-Series error of some kind. Now, people ended up finding a few fixes for this. One of them was people found out if you take a towel and wrap it around the Xbox, and then you turn it on until it overheats, turn it off, and then wait about 30 minutes and turn it back on, the system works for some reason. The other fix was taking the whole system apart, and there were X-clamps that held down the CPU and GPU heat sinks. If you replace those X-clamps with screws and washers, and then you reflow the system in the same way by overheating it, then you could get the system to work. Granted, I'm saying work. And the problem is, these kind of started off as, just home remedies. First off, people found the towel issue, the towel trick. Because what would happen is you would end up doing that, and you could heat up the system enough where the solder between the chips and the board would kind of melt back together, just long enough for you to get some more playtime out of, and then every time you did it, though, it would weaken the system. It would become worse because solder's not supposed to do that. And then on top of that, you're not just heating up the certain points that you need to, like a CPU or GPU, that you would for an isolated reflow. You're heating up the entire system, which is not good for the health of the console long term. Now, the problem is, at first this started off on the internet because people, they did the towel trick, and then people started blaming the X-clamps, and really the whole thing, I'm going to explain this, the whole thing with the X-clamps was that a lot of people couldn't get them back on properly, and they lost their tension, and they weren't holding down the heat sinks to the board properly. So people figured out they had seen screws and washers, or just screws on and standoffs on computer motherboards. So they used that logic. It was a good effort, but they used that logic on the Xbox 360, and they said, hey, if we end up taking some washers and just spacing them together between the heatsink, the board, and these screws, and then we tighten the screws as tight as we can, the system ends up working for longer than if we put the X-clamp on, which that is true to a case, but it's still going to fail because that's still not a good repair. The X-clamps themselves were fine. I know a lot of people try and, they say, and they debate this and they say, no, they're horrible, all this other stuff. They were fine. They were fine. It was just those initial repair methods were bad. And also, the system itself was just not reliable. I mean, we could put it at that too. Now, the problem with the safety concern they were talking about comes into play where you don't really know what these backgrounds of these people who are repairing these systems are, and a lot of people were selling these services on Craigslist or on Facebook, where they were charging $20, $30, $40 to do a repair to an Xbox 360, and it ended up just being, replacing with screws and washers, reheating the system, and they give it to you. And sometimes people would say things along the lines of, oh yeah, every few weeks you have to do this, and I have to put it like this, because there's going to be people down below in the comments that say, oh, I did the towel trick to my 360 and it worked, or I did the X-clamp fix to my 360 and it worked. And I'll tell you, I actually have my very first system I ever did the X-clamp fix on. It still works to this day. I don't know how, but it does. But the point is on there, it is a way to get the system to work for a bit longer, but it is not a fix. You see, if there is an issue and you do something to remedy the issue, but it comes back, that's not fixing the issue. That is just kind of offsetting it for a bit. A true fix is going in, fixing up something and making sure it doesn't work, and that's quite hard to do. You see, I work as a consultant, and I also do quite a few software installs, and there have been, I cannot tell you the amount of times I have been on a server, I have been faced with a certain type of issue where the server can be set up a certain way, it has all these programs on there, all the proper services, all the proper version numbers, and we'll run into an issue. Or I run into an issue, and I know how to resolve it, but then the typical steps I use to resolve it don't work. Sometimes there's just not a end-all be-all fix for whatever it is. That's why documentation really helps on that, and places such as Xbox experts would help out, people such as myself. But a lot of the times, you're going to have that. I've even had times where I might be working on a production environment and I'm working on a test environment, and both are technically set up the same, but in production, we will get an issue that we did not see at all, and we just go down this huge rabbit hole, and test was perfectly fine. And they both look the same. So it happens. It is definitely a thing that can happen. But the main thing with these towel tricks, these X-clamp replacement tricks, all these other tricks that were out there, was that none of them were even fixes. They were just ways to somewhat prolong the short-term life of your system, but in the end, they ended up doing more harm than good. And now, going off of that tangent, the issue at hand here was that a lot of people, again, were selling these, but it wasn't just people on Craigslist or Facebook. It was game shops, like local game shops were doing that. Repair shops were doing that. All of a sudden, you had people who had no expertise on small electronics, and they were figuring out this stuff, and they were selling these as fixes, and they were selling, their Xbox 360s as red ring fixed, and, they won't get the red ring, and it has a permanent fixture on the system. They were saying all of these things. In fact, GameStop or EB Games were the same people that did these fixes. If you bought a refurbished Xbox 360 and opened it up, it probably had the fan modification with the DVD drive, so it was running at 8.7 volts, and it had the X-clamps replaced with screws and washers. So a big company, it wasn't just like a mom and pop shop, it was everyone from a kid browsing YouTube to GameStop doing these repairs and selling them as refurbished units or selling them as, permanently fixed Red Ring of Death systems. Of course, not everyone was doing them, but then you get into the point where there were people that were believing this. I believed this at first when I was doing this, and I know one of my friends, for example, he got suckered into it when his Xbox 360, his first one, broke. So he told me at the time he bought a new Xbox 360 off eBay, and it was all cool looking. I think it had a flash DVD drive, it had LED lights, it had a clear case, and then I remember he told me, we were like 14, 15 at the time, but he's like, oh yeah, and it won't get the Red Ring of Death either. And I asked why. And he said, oh, because the guy who I bought it from, he did this fix on there, and it's a permanent Red Ring of Death fix, so therefore I won't get it anymore. And I remember even at like 14, I kind of questioned that. I was like, I don't know, dude, I don't believe that for a second. And about 3 or 4 weeks later, the system got the Red Ring of Death. So this was happening on these consoles. And I'm sure Microsoft as a company absolutely hated that and they despised it. I mean, that's why they extended the warranty program for the Red Ring of Death twice. At first, the Xbox 360 had a 3-month warranty period, and then they ended up bumping that up to a 1-year warranty period. Then they ended up bumping it to a 3-year warranty period. Now, granted, the first 3 months, the first year, that was, in my opinion, not long enough for an Xbox 360, and they actually got in trouble for that, and they were being investigated because a lot of systems were mysteriously breaking just a year after they were purchased. So it seemed really suspect. But really, it was one of those things where if a system was under 3 years old and it was being regularly used, if it ended up getting the Red Ring of Death, you could send it to Microsoft, get it back. Hopefully at that point they ended up fixing it. They really didn't fix up the Red Ring issue until the 5th Xbox 360 motherboard though. So, at least they tried, they got it, but it took, several tries. Now, the crazy thing is, with a lot of these systems, whether it be the PlayStation or the Xbox or anything else, the PlayStation 3 was also another problematic system. You see, a lot of people when it first came out were saying that, oh, this system is fine and, it doesn't suffer from the Red Ring of Death issue. Well, you got the yellow light issue, which was the same thing, but even worse to repair, honestly, and it just showed up later in the system's life. And a lot of these problems could have actually been prevented if, people took preventive maintenance on their system. Preventive maintenance means you open up your system, you clean it out, you replace the thermal paste, you put it back together, you make sure it's in a cool environment, but you can't really do that and stay in warranty at the same time. You know why? Because there's a warranty seal on all these systems. And if you violate that warranty seal, if you end up opening the system and you break that warranty seal, then you're no longer entitled to that warranty. You can't get that repair. In fact, what these companies did was if you sent them a system that had the warranty seal voided on it, they would send it right back to you. Now, there's going to be people, like my manager was one of them, who he was able to get away with it several times where for some reason they just didn't check for the warranty seals, but the overall policy was if the warranty seal was intact, they could take it, but if it was violated, if it was broken, if it was removed, they could not take that system. Now, as a company as well too, another thing with the privacy of it, I understand where they are coming from. You see, there's a lot of these systems where you could end up doing repairs, and mainly the hardware repairs you can do, with your tools and such, but software repairs, that's where it gets a little bit murky, because you might have to use some third-party unauthorized tools that might or might not have been crafted, or you might not be able to legally have them. Like, they might or might not have been crafted the most legitimate ways is the problem. And then even if you use them, they could lead to other types of things as well too. I have this system right here that I'll show you. The original Xbox right here. Let's say you have one of these systems and the hard drive dies on it. The system's dead at that point. I can't even send this back to Microsoft, unfortunately, because they don't service these systems anymore. So what can I do? Well, if I have the know-how of doing it, I could open up the system, I could then take the CPU, or take the system key, I believe it's the CPU key, from the EEPROM off the system, and then essentially with some magic get all of that imaged over and all of that set up on another hard drive, drop the hard drive in there, make sure it's all modified, ready to rock, good to go, and then, you know, you're gonna have to use some modding tools to do all that, but the point is you can then revive that system. Now, if Microsoft provided official tools that we could all use to do that, that'd be fantastic. But since they didn't, we have to use third-party tools, which then essentially means we kind of have to modify our system, which these companies still don't want us to do, because then that can directly and indirectly lead to playing pirated games and all that other fun stuff. So thanks. And that is why I am happy that the newer systems now do not have region lock on them, so you can play region-free games and such, which is great. However, I also understand when it comes to these repair methods, that's why we are wanting official software and such to do these repairs. But companies are also iffy to relinquish that and these internal tools, or maybe even making external versions of them, just due to the fact that at what point could you use these to hack and modify the system to do these completely unauthorized things that the system, you know, for the good of it and for the good of the company, you should not be doing. Now, I've seen both sides. I understand this from a consumer perspective, and I also understand this from a company perspective, but I feel like there could be some middle ground here. Now, I am in, this is an end-all be-all thing, these are kind of just my thoughts and feelings on this, and if you have any contributions, you know, feel free to drop them in the comments, but I am on the side of the rights to repair. I believe that that is a thing that is attainable. I believe that we should be allowed to do that, and what could companies do to kind of help out with this? First off, they could release these schematics, so they could release, you know, hardware help on this, and maybe even, you know, some software as well, too, to help this out. That would be great. Some people might be asking, well, what if this is used to modify and hack your systems? What they should do is they should vet this. Any software they release, they should professionally vet it to make sure that, you know, it's not directly allowing people to completely root and gain all access to their consoles. That's going to happen at one point. If something is made by man, it can be destroyed by man, and with any system, it's not a matter of if it's going to be modified and hacked up, it's a matter of when it's going to be modified and hacked up. So it's going to happen at one point, but I feel like they could go a few steps in the right direction of kind of meeting us in the middle and providing, you know, at least the schematics and some hardware help on that. Now, when it comes to software, that's, as I said, it's going to be another thing. They're going to need to vet that, but I feel like we could get that if we start going in the right direction with this. Another thing I believe companies can do if they are so concerned with people opening up their systems, doing these third-party unauthorized repairs on them, potentially, you know, having all this dangerous stuff happen, well, these kind of go hand in hand. Make your hardware better. Work to make it better. Work to make it more reliable, so therefore you have less failures. And on top of that, extend your warranty out. You know, if an Xbox One, like at this point, my Xbox One consoles, I have opened up a few of them. They're past the 1-year warranty. They're over that, so I have no issue opening that up, because if I open them up, you know, I can tinker around with them, play around with them, whatever I need to, if I repair them and such, or if I need to compare things, and I can do that. I feel comfortable doing that. However, if the Xbox One had a 3 or a 5-year warranty, I would definitely think twice about that. And if I had a disk drive issue, if I had a hard drive failure issue, if I had a general hardware issue, I would send it back to Microsoft instead of sending it to a dude who has a third-party shop. So work to make your hardware better, and if you've still made it the best you can and it's going to fail, which it happens, it happens, make your warranties last longer than a year. Do you know how much, especially right now that the Xbox One, you know, it's still not selling as well as the PS4, and they're still, you know, reeling from, they're trying to still recover, and they've done a good job, they're trying to still recover from their initial impression of the Xbox One. Do you know how much good PR it would be if all of a sudden Microsoft came out and said the Xbox One has a 5-year warranty or a 3-year warranty? Do you know how much good PR that would be? Especially when the standard, the industry standard for a game console is a 1-year warranty. If they don't want us to open up our systems or, you know, repair them that way, tinker around with them, whatever it is, give us a better warranty. Now, if they could do both of these things, that would absolutely be fantastic. Do I see these happening? Well, if the right to repair bill goes through, my former opinion, I feel like that can happen, that's attainable. However, if it doesn't come through, or it does go through, regardless of the situation, I just don't see the companies wanting to extend out their warranties, unfortunately. I think that would be great. Not only it would, make sure that they are repairing their own systems, they would have less of these third-party unauthorized places fixing up their systems, or people in their bedroom fixing them, but also, they would have control on that. Yes, it would still be a monopoly, but they would at least still be working with the users and working with the customers in a way. I think that could benefit. And some people might say, oh, well, what if we've opened up our system? We should be able to send it back. What about this? Honestly, even though the warranty seals, it is a big thing where they are technically illegal and such, and it just hasn't been stopped on there, I understand why they're there. Most of the time, if you open it up, it could be a third-party modification, or it could be, a repair of some kind. And really, with all these systems, if you start modifying them, you're thereby breaking the warranty of the system. So if you break your warranty, you can't send it back, and I understand that in a way, but at the same time, apparently the law says differently. It just hasn't been changed. But work on your warranty seals. Like one of them, for example, the Xbox 360 Slim. I don't know if the other systems had it, but it had an external and an internal warranty seal. And technically, if you just played your system, you violated the warranty. The reason being is that Microsoft had such a hard time on the original Fat 360s with warranty seals that they went overboard on the Slim. There was an external warranty seal, which, yeah, you could bypass if you figured it out, but there was an internal one which covered one of the screws, and the problem is it was also tamper-proof in a way where a lot of people would use a heat gun to take the warranty seal off. Well, if you used a heat gun, there would be a line that would go straight through the warranty seal, thereby showing that it has been tampered with and the warranty is null and void. However, do you know what else could heat up that sticker? The game console. If you just played your Xbox 360 at regular amounts of time, and maybe some extended amounts of time, if you have like a long gaming session or whatever it is, chances are that internal warranty seal shows as void just because you played your system and it got hot. Anyways, I'm not sure how all over the place this video was, but I hope I kind of informed you. I got to rant a little bit. You all got to learn something. If you have an opinion on this either way, let me know down below in the comments section. Anyways, this is Mr. Mario signing off. Thank you all for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, a like would very much be appreciated. If you absolutely hated it and you just want to, trust these companies with repairing everything and you want to pay the exorbitant fees and such, a dislike is fine as well too.
I'll always be here. Tell me if you need me, you call me if you're feeling alone, 'cause I'm here, I'm always right here. Tell me that I'm dumb, I love to get